Everybody, welcome to the show, Round the Nation, right here, TYT Nation. Your host, Jeff Waldorf. Got a great show for you guys today. Sorry about the late start if you guys are watching the live stream. Had to get some things finalized. No problem there. With me today, my guest is Ron Placone. Hey, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show.
Can I be considered a regular contributor
You
at
are
this
a regular
point? I mean, I
contributor.
am every Monday.
That's
I feel
true.
like
That's true. You're a guest and my
I'm
regular
fairly
contributor.
consistent on Monday.
You know what? Yeah, I will now from now on refer to you as my contributor, Ron Placone.
That's, I feel all warm inside just hearing it.
You should.
It's moving on up in the world.
There you
Big
go.
day for me.
I don't know if up is really the right way to explain this, but whatever.
I say up.
worse.
I say up. By the way, quick plug, anyone watching the stream, if you're in LA, tonight's a big night. You can catch me live at Open Space LA at 8 o'clock, or you can catch some of my jokes at Flappers Comedy Club for the live Jimmy Dore show. There's a couple sketches and some jokes that I help with that are going to be going on that live show, and I will also be there later in the evening. So any LA viewers, please come out and say hey. Come out and say hey.
That's all he's asking is a hey. That's it.
Come say hey.
It's not
Come
so
say
hard.
hey.
It's not so hard. You can do it. You could do it.
And well, the Jimmy Dore show is sold out, so that might be harder to get in if you don't already have tickets. But
Oh yeah,
but the show I'll be at earlier is not sold out. So come say hey, and
So you've got time. You have time. You have time. Do it. Go. But stay, because we have show. All right.
Yeah,
so,
don't go now. It doesn't start till
don't
8
go
o'clock.
Don't go now.
Pacific time.
It's only noon. You can relax. Enjoy your lunch.
Is it
Enjoy the
noon
show.
here? It's 1 here. It's 1.
Oh, is it time changes,
It's
man.
1 p.m. here.
1 p.m.
Jeff.
See,
Yeah.
again, normally we start at noon Pacific time, so 3 p.m. Eastern here. And of course,
okay.
Mondays always throw
All right.
me off. They do. All right. Anyway, we've got a lot of story here for you today, so let me do a quick breakdown before we dive into it. We've got the what happened in Sweden. Very, very important story. Then we've got Chris Wallace versus Reince Priebus. Bernie Sanders, Social Security. Awesome. We've got the corrupt establishment. Hillary's establishment is now Trump's establishment. I've got that story. That's a fascinating story. Then we've got Claire McCaskill talking about being primaried. Interesting. And so there's kind of your quick breakdown that we have today. And of course, Ron, you're going to be contributing. It's going to be a great show, so stick around for the next hour. First, I want to thank the patrons. Appreciate you guys for helping out the show, helping independent progressive media. Anyway, let's start out with this, what happened in Sweden. Now, Donald Trump continues to struggle to defend his Muslim ban that has been shut down by the courts. Now, there was a recent rally in Melbourne, Florida on Saturday, and during this rally, Trump had cited a non-existent attack in Sweden. Let's take a look at that video, and then we'll break it down.
Here's the bottom line. We've got to keep our country safe. You look at what's happening. We've got to keep our country safe. You look at what's happening in Germany. You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible.
Sweden, would you believe it? No, I don't believe it. Because it didn't happen.
Jeff, if I say something louder,
Just
it
louder.
doesn't matter that I don't really have a point to my word salad, because I'm saying it loud. That's his new strategy.
The hand motions really make it too.
I'm saying it louder.
They do. And the whole time he's trying to point out, look at how big my hands are. They're not tiny. Look at these things.
They're average.
They're monster hands.
And I'm loud.
They're definitely not tiny. Definitely not. But look, let's get to the, actual stuff in here. The Sweden. What happened in Sweden? What did happen in Sweden? Well, as far as we know, absolutely nothing. In fact, even the former Swedish Prime Minister, a man named Carl Bildt, Bildt, he tweeted out, "Sweden terror attack. What has he been smoking? Questions abound." Look, Ron, I don't know what he's been smoking, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Sessions has already attempted to ban it. Just saying.
Nice. Good one,
Not
buddy.
bad. Not bad, huh? I
Yeah,
get my
no,
cues from
that's-
comedians.
yeah. There you
But
go.
anyway. So look, no terrorist attacks in Sweden, right? Unless you're talking about the ones that happened in alternative fact land. Like, for example, you remember the Bowling Green Massacre? Horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible.
I made it out.
Barely. You just barely made it out of the Bowling Green Massacre.
Barely.
And then remember the terrorist attack that happened in Atlanta?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that coincided with the beginning of The Walking Dead. That's what happened there.
Probably they
It was a
filmed it in
bioterrorism
Georgia.
attack. That's what it was.
It's awesome you bring that up. I actually watched I watched The Walking Dead for the first time last night. Ever.
Did you? Wow. You're a little late
Yeah,
to the party.
my girlfriend's into it, and I've never watched it before. But she was like, "Well, I'm gonna watch it because it's happening, and I don't miss it." And I'm like, "All right, that's cool." And I had like some writing stuff to do for the show tonight, so I kind of like half watched it with her, and I was kind of writing while she was watching, and
Sure.
I had a lot of questions because I've never seen it before. But it does in fact film in Georgia.
Yeah. Atlanta was a big set piece. So, anyway, so what happened in Bowling Green, Sweden, and Atlanta? Well, why don't we call those alternative terrorist attacks, or otherwise just fake news? Because that's what
Yeah. I actually like alternative terrorist attacks because the alternative to a terrorist attack is
It's a
not a
terrorist
terrorist attack, which is like what happened in this case.
Exactly.
Every day I've been a victim of alternative terrorist attacks. Quite frankly,
that's great.
I've never, knock on wood, I've never encountered one
So anyway,
firsthand.
now speaking of fake news, right? On Sunday, Donald Trump tweeted out his clarification to those remarks, what he was referring to. Now, he said, the report in question, this is a tweet. My statement as to what's happening in Sweden was in reference to a story that was broadcast on Fox News concerning immigrants and Sweden. Okay, so we have a little bit of clarification now. Now, that report took place on Tucker Carlson's show. I don't know the name of Tucker Carlson's show, but he's got a show. Now, on
Sad
this
man
show,
with a bow tie.
sure. That bow tie, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not a fashion guy, but dude, really? Bow tie?
Well, I think he's distanced himself from it a little bit every now and again, ever since like
Sure.
Jon Stewart like mopped the floor with him in '04. But yeah, he's still unapologetically sports it. He's like,
Yeah.
"You can't stop me from being me."
Right. You special snowflake, you.
Yeah. I mean, this is coming from a guy that's doing a broadcast in a Bad Religion t-shirt, so I probably shouldn't be throwing stuff from my glass house, but what are you going to
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. Oh, well. Anyway, now, during that Tucker Carlson segment, he interviewed somebody named, and I don't know, Amy Horowitz. Now, this person had created a film that attempted to pin rising rates of crime on in Sweden on immigrants, because Sweden has actually taken in probably the most amount of immigrants, not necessarily sure on the most, but a great deal of immigrants, more than a lot of other countries, more than the United States, for example. So they've taken in a lot of immigrants. Now, of course, this entire film is trying to say, look at this sharp increase in crime in Sweden. It's all thanks to the immigrants. Now, there's a couple of problems with that. Number one, crime is actually down in Sweden. Reuters reports that crime rates in Sweden have decreased since 2005, even as hundreds of thousands of immigrants have entered the country. And to that I say,
Oops.
not a thing. That's a bit of a problem. Now, also on this film that tries to smear immigrants, essentially, there were two Swedish police officers that recently came out and criticized the film that they were interviewed in. This was the film. Amy Horowitz, right, interviewed some police officers. They were talking about crime. Now, these two officers named Anders Goranzon and Jacob Ekstrom told a Swedish newspaper, and I cannot pronounce the name of the Swedish newspaper, I would tell you, that their comments were selectively edited by the filmmaker in order to connect the impacts of immigrants on crime rates in Sweden. Goranzon told the newspaper it was supposed to be about crime in high-risk areas with high crime rates. There wasn't any focus on migration or immigration. And he finally says, quote, "This is bad journalism." And you know where bad journalism goes? It goes
to
straight
the
to
corporate
Fox
media.
News. Well, and corporate media, true. But a great example is going to Fox News. And now, since it goes to Fox News, it ends up going right to the ear of President Trump. Fun, huh? So this is what we have. I mean, we have a president who sits there and watches TV and then makes policy based on what he sees on TV. And the TV that he watches is the original fake news.
Yeah, I mean, well, not only that, but he's fishing for anything at this point because all he has left to kind of connect with people is their fear. Like, that's pretty much all he's got left. Which it's amazing, and we should point this out. It's amazing he's already gotten to that point in his presidency. It's been a month, Jeff. It's been a month. I mean, maybe a little over at this point, but it's been approximately a month. And it took Bush years to get to that point. And he had, of course, he had 9/11 happen too. That helped get to that point. But the Trump administration, they're at this point now. So they're going to parrot anything, fake or not. And Donald Trump has no clue. And he'll just deflect. He'll be like, well, this was just what was given to me. Whether he's lying about a terrorist attack or lying about how many electoral votes he got.
Yep.
It was given to him. It was given to him.
Hey, not my fault. Don't kill the messenger. No. I'm only the president of the United States, and I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. But I didn't get this. I get this information from Fox News. Blame them.
This was just given to me. I don't know. It was a significant win, though, don't you think? I mean, that whole press conference was a tiny, small man fishing for validation.
Basically.
And that's what every press conference is going to be. It's a tiny, tiny man fishing for validation. That's all he did the entire time.
Yeah.
And going on diatribes, of course, like word salad diatribes, but
people who need constant validation and praise, I mean, there's something wrong. Their feelings of I don't know. I'm not gonna diagnose somebody over the air. That's ridiculous. I've made fun of Fox News
we can
for doing the same thing.
I mean,
so I'm not gonna do that. But I'm just saying, like, if you feel super inadequate, usually you try to fish for compliments from somebody.
How many psychology PhD students are going to write a dissertation on this guy?
Who knows, right?
I mean, that's a lot is the answer. I'm curious to see that come out in the next couple years.
But again, I don't want to get too much into that because that's speculation and trying to do psychoanalysis. I don't do that. I'm not going to do that.
I don't either.
But what's interesting, to go to an actual point, there was an actual terrorist attack in Sweden. It happened last month. Well, how come you and I never heard anything about it, Ron? Well, let me tell you. Now, The Independent reports that 3 suspected neo-Nazis were arrested in January after a Gothenburg asylum center became the target of a homemade bomb attack, leaving one person seriously injured. Thankfully, no fatalities, but still, this was a bombing. This was a terrorist attack. Now, the Gothenburg Center happened to be a place for immigrants. There were also 2 other attacks going back before January, the few months spanning before January, on immigrant centers carried out by suspected Swedish white supremacists. Again, oops. Seems like there's more of an issue with some of the natives in Sweden attacking immigrants, and not the other way around. And again, violent crime in Sweden has decreased despite Sweden taking in a ton of immigrants and refugees. Now, of course, you can go through and point out some and cherry pick out some. Well, look at this violent attack by an immigrant on a Swedish person. Yeah, okay. But again, the people that attack the immigrants in Sweden don't represent all Swedes. the people, the immigrants or migrants that might have attacked a Swedish person doesn't necessarily represent all immigrants. So that's an important point to point out. But to the overall point of the story, I wonder why Trump ignored that story. I wonder why Fox News ignored that story. I wonder why it didn't get any traction in any of the major corporate media outlets. Maybe it could be that terrorism by white people isn't as sexy to cover as terrorism performed by brown people. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And bringing it back to Trump and co., I mean, they were pretty silent on the Montreal incident too, because I mean that guy was a supporter, and all of a sudden it's just the rules are different when it's white people doing it. The rules are different when it's not motivated by Muslim extremism. The rules are definitely different then. They say, well, why won't we call it radicalism? Why won't we call it this? Like, okay, well then Dylan Roof's a Christian terrorist.
Right.
Why won't we call it that? I mean, there is a very thick double standard.
Right, and Roof represents Christianity just as much as ISIS represents Islam.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
no,
so-
I fully agree with that. But
That's
if
something
you're gonna make sure
Yeah.
we designate one, then designate them all.
We can't sit here and do false equivalence. And that's something that pisses me off to no end. And this is what, unfortunately, you've got a lot of corporate media, or some of the corporate media, Fox News definitely, Donald Trump, doing, and a lot of it's to, look, terrorism is terrorism, right? We only seem to focus on the brown kind because it happens to fit into some people's agenda. Donald Trump's agenda, Steve Bannon's agenda, right? The far right. And it's there to keep you afraid of the Muslims so that you'll keep these far right-wingers in power. And end up going, and this is the more important part of this, is that it keeps money flowing into the military-industrial complex that continues to make lots and lots of money off bombing Middle Eastern countries.
Mm-hmm. And up until recently, several corporate media outlets, most notably MSNBC, was owned by General Electric,
and that's
who
an
had
important
financial
point to note
incentives to
out.
make bombs.
It's an important point to note, too. So you're absolutely right. Corporate media is now, or is part of this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, and they always have been. I mean, that's why the media will always be, well, the main corporate media will always be adamantly pro-war. They will always at least subtly be pro-war. That's why a lot of us on the left are very concerned about some of this Russia stuff, where all of a sudden it's quote-unquote progressive to do a McCarthy impression because we don't want to see World War III.
That's true. And, look, there's questions about Russia, no doubt, right?
Certainly. I'm not trying to say that there's not, but
you
I mean, you and I
have
both,
to-
Jeff, we understand the need to kind of, I guess, toe the fence, for lack of a better way to put it, but we know the need to not jump to these, like I said, man, it's a big James Bond movie right now. We don't know who the good guys are. We really don't.
Maybe there are no good guys.
There's a good chance.
And
like a James Bond movie, again.
Yeah.
It's like,
and when you're talking about this stuff, I mean, nuance goes out the window. When you're talking about the Democrats and when you're talking about the Republicans, it seems like the whole conversation over Russia and just everything it has absolutely no nuance. Either Russia is completely fine and you're freaking out over nothing, or Russia is 100% evil and hacked our elections. Or it could be a mix, somewhere in the middle. Russia doing propaganda, as all governments do. You don't think we do propaganda? Of course we do propaganda. Other countries do propaganda. Of course they do propaganda. If you're Vladimir Putin, you're looking out for the interests of Russia, right? And all you're saying is, I'm going to do what I can do to
Vladimir Putin. You're looking out for the interests of Vladimir Putin, but I know what you mean.
Exactly. And so, you can have a conversation of this as long as you ground it in facts. And what we know, and try not to speculate so much, and obviously try not to beat the war drums. And that's the thing that unfortunately our corporate media fails at doing, is to not, all they do is sit there and they try to beat those war drums because their backers are large military contractors, and we have turned our economy into a military industrial complex.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's important to note MSNBC is no longer owned
No
by
longer
General
owned
Electric.
by
Now
right.
they're owned by everybody's favorite company, Comcast. So
Yay.
they're moving up, man. The integrity is at an all-time high.
Sure, absolutely. But again, it's these conversations where you can't have nuance, and you got to look at the facts, and you got to look at what we know, and be like anything that comes out of the government. You should be suspect it a little bit.
Yeah,
I think, in my opinion, the stuff coming out of the intelligence agencies, take it with a grain of salt.
oh, absolutely, man. I mean, absolutely. And to assume, and that's why, like, it bothers. Now I feel like we're kind of going off a little bit here,
A little
but
bit.
that's why, like, these people that identify as progressives that thinks like, oh, well, the intelligence community completely has our back right now. I mean,
No.
you're making a leap. You're making a big leap of faith.
It's, look, those are the CIA and stuff, the NSA, these intelligence agencies are the same ones that are sucking up your data, your metadata, and doing these programs like X-Key Score and the PRISM program and all these different things that basically are undermining your privacy rights. So of course you can't necessarily trust everything that they do and say. But again, you've got to look and you've got to find the truth, and you have to question everything.
Yeah. I feel like we got off on a tangent.
We're way off on a tangent.
I kind of feel like it was my fault. I apologize. But I'm a contributor.
Yeah. Well, we could always cut that out too. So, just in the interest of keeping the clips a little shorter and on point. But anyway, so we do have a media segment as well coming up next. So we're going to get into that. Now, the corporate media seems to be having a lot of problems with Donald Trump's characterization of them being the enemy. For example, you've got people at CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Wait a minute, Fox News? What is this? Hold on there. What? Fox News is having a problem with Donald Trump? And it's not just that rabble-rouser, Shep Smith. Because you know that guy, he's shady.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, he's definitely doesn't toe that line. But no, you actually have Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace coming out against Donald Trump's statement on the media. He had recently tweeted, "Oh, these guys are the enemy. They're my enemy. My enemy." Okay. And he also said something about that during that recent rally as well. Now, I want to show you guys a video of a rather testy exchange where Wallace and White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus kind of fight it out over this whole issue. Let's take a look.
I don't have any problem with you complaining about an individual story. We sometimes get it wrong. You guys sometimes get it wrong. I don't have any problem with you complaining about bias, but you went a lot further than that, or the president went a lot further than that. He said that the fake media, not certain stories, the fake media are an enemy to the country. We don't have a state-run media in this country. That's what they have in dictatorships.
Okay, listen, Chris. It's not just two stories. Then it's followed up by 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of other cable stations, not necessarily Fox, that all day long on every chyron, every 7 minutes are talking about Russian spies, talking about the intelligence community, talking about how me and Steve Bannon don't like each other and what's Kellyanne doing. All this just total garbage, unsourced stuff. My God. I mean, I think you should, in some cases, or in most cases, actually have a named source. Look what we've done. We've repealed TPP. We have signed a coal bill to save the coal industry. We named Neil Gorsuch. We put an executive order in to deregulate the federal government.
All of that.
There's so many things I can talk about.
Wait a minute. We and all of the other cable channels had covered live the announcement of Neil Gorsuch and covered live a lot of these other events. Covered live for an hour and 15 minutes.
Hiring freeze,
the president's news conference. Here's the problem: when the president says that we're the enemy of the American people, it makes it sound like if you're going against him, you're going against the country.
Now that's actually an interesting exchange. So
Yeah.
if you're going against Trump, you're going against the country. That's kind of what we've been saying the whole time. Like, am I wrong, Ron?
Well, let's look at this clip. So, you know how we were just talking about how the world's like a James Bond movie where we don't really know who the good guys are? This exchange is another testament to that. First of all, state-run media is only in dictatorships. Really? So England is a dictatorship? Canada is a dictatorship? Look, our media structure is owned by corporate interests that have incentives to destroy the environment and make bombs, and it compromises the media accordingly because it funds them. Our media structure is toxic to the idea of a democracy. Wanting to have a democracy and having the media structure like we have is like wanting to open a gourmet restaurant but cooking exclusively with Spam. It's not really a noteworthy system. So that statement that he made was just bogus and completely untrue. And again, let's stop throwing stones from your glass house. This guy's response is absolutely ridiculous. To say the media is not covering Donald Trump is absolutely ridiculous. They covered him so much, they were able to help get him elected. And then most of this clip was just two grown men talking over each other like they were trying to work on their first podcast and got way too high.
You know what? It'd actually be fun to see them do a podcast high. I'm just saying. My first question was actually
no argument there.
Yeah, my first question was actually that I thought about that I didn't ask is Rince Priebus ready to put Bailey on a cereal yet?
We can only hope.
These things.
We can only hope.
I think about these things way too much. But look, again, you and I on this show, we've been super tough on corporate media, right? Because look, and not because we want to destroy the media. And I keep having to say this. It's because we want to make the media better, right? Mm-hmm. All the stuff that you lay out about how the corporate media has failed in its duties because of the entire structure, absolutely on point. We need to fix that. Mm-hmm. All the other different problems. For example, they're too much into horse race politics. Again, when it comes to the money, false equivalence, on and on. Soft on establishment Republicans and Democrats. And super unfair towards people who don't fall into that that establishment, whether you're on the right or left, right? Not only that, but as you point out, they're giant multinational corporations. There's a major problem when your media has a profit motive.
Right.
But to say that
like that alone creates a conflict of interest.
Right. But to say that the idea of a free press alone is a enemy to the people? No, an enemy to the people is somebody who wants to shut down the free press because they say mean things about a president. Well, no, like what the media is supposed to do is to be an adversary to people in power. Now, you and I can both agree that they failed in that duty a long time ago, during the George Bush administration, during the Obama administration, during the Clinton administration, et cetera, right? You and I think we would both agree on that, right? They failed in their duties to actually press people in power. And they're still failing, even though it seems
and they
to
failed
be,
during Obama, quite frankly. I mean, they focused on fluff and racism instead of some of the actual faulty things he did.
Yeah. And so, look, there's some of the things that we've called out media for, right? But look, we're against, unlike Trump, we're against corporate media. We're not against actual media, actual independent, real news. And that seems to be lost here because Trump, again, he's attacking news as a whole, the media as a whole.
And for all the wrong reasons, too. Our reasons are quite different. If we explained our reasons to Donald Trump, honestly, he probably wouldn't even understand what the hell we were talking about. He hates them because they ask him tough questions every now and again.
And that
quite different.
And he doesn't like when people challenge him. And that's the whole issue here. And look, so like with all the mistakes that media have made, and we could sit there and do a whole show on how they fucked up. And have many examples. Okay? Yeah. Many. Tremendous. That still doesn't give him the ability to declare the entire press or the idea of a free and open press an enemy of the people. What he's doing right now is that he's effectively isolating his audience from facts that will contradict the kind of narrative that maybe not necessarily him, because all he wants to do is just be liked by people, and adored and stuff like that. But the narrative and stuff that Steve Bannon is the guy that's pretty much running the show. He's the guy that says the media is the opposition party. No, the media is not supposed to be the opposition party. Yes, they are supposed to oppose you because they're supposed to highlight facts, and they're supposed to challenge you and hold you accountable for what you do and say. And when you're in an administration like the Trump administration, even the Obama administration, again, going back to him, the George W. Bush administration, these past administrations have been a little irritated when the press does that, but not to this extent. And in fact, I want to go to another clip here of Reince Priebus defending Trump and what he says about the press. Let's take a look.
Here's the problem, Chris. The problem is that you're right. Some of these things were covered, but you get about 10% coverage on the fact you did a very successful meeting with Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of the UK, the Prime Minister of Canada.
We covered all of those news conferences live. Everybody did.
Right, sure. Yeah, right. But then as soon as it was over, the next 20 hours is all about Russian spies.
But you don't get to tell us what to do,
how
right?
Nothing's happening.
You don't
Give
get to
me
tell
a
us what to
break.
do any more than Barack Obama did. Barack Obama whined about Fox News all the time, but I got to say, he never said that we were an enemy of the people.
Let me tell you something. He said a lot of things about Fox News, Chris. I think you ought to go check the tape. He blamed you for a lot of things, and I'm surprised as someone from Fox that you'd forget all the shots that he took.
No, he
at
took
Fox
the shots,
News. He
and
took
we didn't
plenty
like
of
him.
shots.
And frankly, we don't like this either, because but he never went as far as President Trump has, and that's what's concerning, because it seems like he crosses a line when he talks about that we're an enemy of the people. That is concerning.
I think you should be.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, it's amazing that this type of discourse is where our news sphere is at. And, the corporate media is looking at their Frankenstein. They helped create Donald Trump, and now they're stuck with it. I think in many ways, the simple statement Fox News is an enemy of the people isn't entirely inaccurate, but the reasons it was uttered by Donald Trump were completely wrong. And, Reince Priebus, I mean, it does suck as much as, I'm strongly opposed to this administration. We both are. It's really sad that pretty much anybody in the Trump administration is going to spend all of their time on air having to justify or defend some of the ridiculous things he said. That's all they're ever going to have to do. That's all they're ever going to do. And it's a failure of corporate media to not try to just break through that, to actually hold them accountable for issues. Because if we just focus on the ridiculous thing this president says, well, that's going to occupy 24 hours of news space for the next 4 years. And who knows what the hell these guys are going to do policy-wise. Well, the American people are focused on the little things. We can't afford that right now. We really cannot afford that right now. So again, this is a debate where both of them actually have points.
Yeah.
But we, the people, are the ones losing, because at the end of the day, they both collect really big paychecks, and they don't give a shit about you.
And those are good points. And look, corporate media, I mean, yes, if you want to call out the corporate media for having a structure that, as you point out all the time, is for profit and what I think is incredibly unsustainable, not only for democracy, but just unsustainable in itself. Yeah, that's great. Please do, right? And in fact, if any of the Donald Trump guys, if you guys are watching, if you really want to hurt the media, just talk about how the billionaires fund them through campaign donations and super PACs. Tell the people how these media companies are invested in the current system of large donors buying off for politicians who use that money to buy ads on your networks. That's the way to go after the media. You want to attack the media? Point out how they're a corporation, how they are a big business that isn't interested in giving you facts. They're interested in giving you a pro-corporate bias. Now, don't get me wrong. There is media that actually does do good journalistic work, and we're not going after those guys, but we're going after the people that do have this pro-corporate bias, and we'll ignore stories like Dapple because of their fossil fuel interests, who will play up war and conflict and to try to get the people on more of a war footing, so that they're okay with the next invasion of a country in the Middle East. You know?
Right. And again, it's like we're criticizing the structure. There's still great people in the corporate media. You know, like I mean, one of my closest friends from growing up is Wolf Blitzer's personal assistant. You know, she's worked at CNN for years, and she's brilliant at what she does. But you know, structurally, there are some alarms, and that's what we talk about.
Right, and that's the whole point. It's trying to make the media better by changing the structure of it to where it's not a giant corporation that sits there and buys ads or that enables and really loves this system of money in politics. And that's really one of the major issues behind why the media is where it's at today, is that giant influence of corporate money, these billionaires that can go and fund these politicians, and we're going to spend money on ads. We're going to give you a pro-corporate, pro-establishment bias when they actually cover news stories or don't cover stories at all. Because, of course, you cover what's really happening with the environment, or again, Dapple, Flint, all that stuff. Well, you know, that's gonna get in the way of certain things, certain narratives.
No, and oil and gas industry is one of the main advertisers on corporate media.
I mean, you sit there and watch, you know, if anybody even does, watch MSNBC for any number of times, 5-10 minutes, you're going to see an ad. Natural gas is so clean and effective. It is wonderful. In fact, I love natural gas so much, I will drink it now. You know,
and I'm going to get my opportunity.
Almost to that point. And so it's gotten comical and ridiculous. And this is a good point about that. But again, we're going to go to what you said earlier, Ron. There are no good guys in this story. There are no winners here. Everyone is a loser. Not only the media, Donald Trump, Fox News, and lastly, the biggest loser of all is the American people. Sad. We got to fix the media, man.
We got to fix this country, bro. Got to fix this country.
We got to fix this. Got to do better. Okay. So let's go into some good news. Let's talk about Social Security. Now, last week, Bernie Sanders introduced a bill to expand Social Security benefits. Now, at a time, of course, for the discussion, thanks to the nomination of Mick Mulvaney for the Office of Management and Budget, who is, of course, really, really wants to cut Social Security. Here's Bernie Sanders saying, no, we're not going to let that conversation go back to that. No, we're going to essentially give you the middle finger and then say, cut this, bitch. Just try. On Thursday, Bernie Sanders and Representative Peter DeFazio introduced a bill to expand Social Security benefits by lifting the cap on earnings subject to payroll taxes. Now they presented their proposal on the very day, of course, where Americans with wages over $1 million or more stop paying into Social Security for the year. Now, wait a minute here. No, look, we all, anybody who gets a paycheck pays into Social Security taxes. Everybody. So, I mean, and they get the money through the payroll tax. So why did the millionaires get to stop paying for a year when it's already only February? Well, that seems a little weird, right? Well, it goes back to how it was set up. Workers now contribute to Social Security based on the first $127,200 that they earn every year. Now, those millionaires, by this month, by February, they've already paid that in taxes, and now they're essentially off the hook for the rest of the year. Now, the changes made in the Bernie Sanders legislation would apply the 6.2% payroll tax to ordinary earnings of $250,000 or more, as well as to unearned incomes like capital gains and dividends, which currently are not taxed. Above that threshold, Now, that, of course, I think would bring in a lot of extra money into the Social Security fund, which, by the way, Social Security not going broke doesn't add a damn penny to the deficit. Just saying. Now, there's more to this bill. Rather than increase the benefits for those high-earning workers based on their additional contributions, the bill would use revenue to extend Social Security solvency until 2078 and to boost benefits across the board with a disproportionate impact on low earners. So if you were poor, you would actually see the biggest increase from this proposal. And if you're rich, well, look, if you're rich, then you're still going to be rich, and you still probably already have a really good retirement plan already. So you're wealthy, you're going to be fine, you're going to be okay. Now, this basically is expanding benefits for the poor and the middle class while asking the rich to pay just a little bit more. Because again, even if they pay a little bit more, they're still going to be rich. Nobody wants to rob them of all their wealth. It's just enough to make sure that the 99% has enough money to comfortably retire on. Now, Sanders said at a press conference, we can expand benefits, we can extend the life of Social Security if we have the guts to tell the millionaires and billionaires that, yes, they're going to have to pay a little bit more in taxes. Sanders was joined by DeFazio, Ron Wyden, Elizabeth Warren, Jan Schakowsky, and Paul Tonko, and representatives of progressive organizations like Social Security Works, the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, and the Alliance for Retired Americans. Now, this is a great bill, has zero chance of passing, but it's great.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a big if that Bernie Sanders pointed out there. That's a big if. Like, if we can, hold the millionaires and billionaires accountable, if we can have the backbone to ask them to pay a little more. I mean, I don't know about you, Jeff. I mean, we're around the same age. I operate under the assumption I will not see a dime from Social Security. I think that they're always trying to go after it. I look at the direction of this country. Man, do I hope I'm wrong on this one. And I'm going to do everything in my power to prove myself wrong. I'm going to try to get progressives elected. I'm going to try to, do what I can to try to make this a better country, at least in my personal politics or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it's a strong opposition, and it's the enemy of the powerful and the elite. Social Security is, and I kind of operate under the guise they're going to get it before we would see
Ron,
it.
They've been after it since it was put into place.
I know.
Have been after
I know. I'm not saying
But
like
George
this is
W.
totally
Bush.
100% like
Right, but I'm going to point out George W. Bush also tried to privatize it during his reign, and it didn't work out so well.
I know.
He lost all of his political
I'm well
capital.
aware.
And look, still, this is one of the most popular programs in the Americans have. You got Republicans out there, ironically, with signs, get your hands off my government, or get your government hands off my Social Security.
I know.
And Medicare. So
I know.
It's an issue that a lot of people care about. And again, going back to the Republicans here, yeah, they keep pointing out, like, their little plan to try to get rid of it is to say, well, it's not going to cover everybody. It's not going to be there for you. So why don't you just let us privatize it already? And so your way of thinking, oh, it's not going to be here for me, in a weird way, it enables them to get rid of it. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy, Ron.
I mean, okay. I don't know about that. I mean, I think it's more like kind of being practical and looking out for myself. I mean, again, I hope I'm wrong. But, I mean, yeah, they haven't successfully gotten it yet. But, I mean, education's an issue a lot of people care about. We have Betsy DeVos now. I mean, it's one of those things like, give it time. I mean, George Carlin said it. He's like, now they're coming after your Social Security dollars, and they're going to get it. They're going to get all of it. I'm not saying he's a prophet, but I'm saying it's a legitimate concern. And I certainly don't begrudge any millennials that are going to do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't become a reality, but in the back of their mind think, I'm not counting on this because there's a good chance it's going to be long gone. They're going to take it before I see any of it. Because we never ask, where's the money coming from for the next war? We never ask that question.
Maybe it's
So
time we all start asking that question. I mean, the reason that one of the reasons I think they've been able to get, away with a lot of this bullshit is because people weren't paying attention. Remember, Barack Obama tried putting Social Security on the table. The left was essentially asleep during that point. But when they tried to do the same thing under George W. Bush, huge outcry. And there's going to be one now. And that's what this whole legislation is about. It's not about trying to pass the bill. This is a shot across the bow from progressives, from Bernie Sanders, and others who signed on to this bill to say, Republicans, if you try to destroy Social Security, we're coming for you. We're here. We're coming after you. Okay. Like
the Democrats have been as of recent.
In some cases. It's mainly the progressives here.
I wish I shared your optimism.
But no, well, this is good politics, and let me explain why. Okay.
I agree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Well, I mean, basically they want to put the Republicans in a position to explain to everyone, Republicans, independents, Democrats, progressives, whatever group, why you just killed an incredibly popular piece of legislation. He's saying, go ahead and cut it. I dare you. See what happens. You will legislate yourself into irrelevance for the next 30 years. You get rid of this program. I mean, it's incredibly popular, right? For example, they a couple of years ago there was a poll. It was asked where would you be okay with the wealthy paying a little bit more to preserve Social Security, right? 80% said yes. This breaks down across partisan lines. Republicans, independents, Democrats. They're like, yes, we would like the wealthy to pay a little bit more to protect Social Security. We like this program. Don't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's incredibly popular.
And Congress always proposes legislation that people actually want.
But not when the people, yes, they do. They do pass a lot of things or propose a lot of things that are absolutely terrible that the people don't want. I understand that. But when there's enough people out there that are fighting against this, that gets these people on notice. Look, I've done a bunch of stories of the past couple of weeks where Republicans and Democrats are running away from their town halls because they can't face their pissed off constituents. Right. Imagine the outcry if they try to eliminate Social Security. And that's why they come up with all these different bullshit reasons. Oh, we can't afford it, it's running out of money. Again, doesn't add a penny to the deficit or the debt. And it's
But yet a lot of people don't know that, Jeff, because the propaganda against Social Security has been successful.
But again, that's a failure on the media as well. And that's why
I agree.
A lot of people are turning away from these corporate media entities. Now, look, here are the facts. The Social Security Fund has enough money to fully fund everyone until around the 2030s, and then afterwards provide about 70% of all benefits going forward, and that is if nothing changes. And Republicans love to harp on that point too, right? Nothing is the key word. If we actually do raise the cap and start creating high-paying jobs, because again, Social Security is funded by the payroll tax, and that's what George W. Bush, I think, lowered the payroll tax, and Barack Obama tried to lower the payroll tax, which is, of course, starving Social Security of funding. Even so, they still have trillions of dollars saved up in the Social Security Fund, enough to make it solvent well into the 2030s. And that's if we do nothing. That's assuming everything stays the same. People don't get more jobs or higher paying jobs. This is what they like to do. They like to remove all context and all nuance in order to hammer their talking point to try to get people to get rid of their expectation of having a Social Security payment one day, and that is bullshit. We have to fight against that.
I fully agree with you. I don't disagree with any of that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, and I also agree with your assessment of everything that they're doing in this case, Bernie Sanders. Like, I agree with that 100% and 10%. I don't disagree with that. It is good politics. It is very strategic. It is very smart. What I'm saying is, keep in mind, we still got a while before you and I would be collecting this.
Sure.
And given the direction of this country, don't assume it's safe. And
No,
yes,
no,
I mean,
no.
it's a bunch of propaganda and lies against Social Security. I completely know that. But don't assume they're not going to be able to figure out a way to get it from us.
Well, here's the thing, though, right? I nowhere did I say that we should assume that it's safe. We should assume that it is not safe, that they're always going to try to come
Right.
for it. That meant part of the message. I do absolutely agree with you. You know why? Because this gets people, if you remind people, hey, the Republicans are still trying to cut your Social Security, they're going to not stop trying to cut your Social Security because they hate the idea of poor people retiring with, I don't know, enough money to survive. They hate that idea. They'd rather have your parents go or your grandparents eat cat food and not the good kind.
Or honestly, they'd rather you just die. I mean,
or
quite
just
frankly.
die. And so that is something that we do need to remind them to go and fight. But there is also facts, and it's going to be difficult for them to do it unless they can sell a lie to you. And that's the whole
Which
point.
they
that I'm trying to
can. We live in a
They're gonna try.
post-fact world.
Again, they're going to keep trying to do that. So what we need to do is keep fighting back. And again, this is exactly what Bernie Sanders is doing. And this is why I'm happy to see Bernie Sanders throw down a gauntlet. You want to cut Social Security? We're not going to let you cut Social Security if we can do anything about it. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a bill to expand it, and then again watch you explain why you voted to kill something that's very, very popular. Try it. Just try it. This is why I love strong progressives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, could you imagine what we could do if we had more than one Bernie Sanders? Not just one, but an army of them in Congress.
Well, and hopefully we're grooming those next ones.
Exactly.
Hopefully organizations like Justice Democrats, organization like where Bernie Sanders being in the position he's in, hopefully that's what's coming next. But I'll do one more kind of, and I don't know, because I know like we're really speculating here, and I don't mean to sound like a doom and gloom like cynic here, because I'm really not. But keep in mind, a Republican wasn't able to get NAFTA through. It took a Democrat.
Right.
We have a lot of those corporate Democrats that are wolves in sheep's clothing. So, if the day ever came where Social Security became a thing of the past, it wouldn't be a Republican that would be able to grab it. It would be a Democrat that would be able to grab it. It would take a Democrat to gut Social Security. It would take a Democrat to gut net neutrality. So that's something we need to be aware of. And we need to know who's really on our team.
To be fair, you make great points, but on the net neutrality, it looks like we're probably already going to get it gut. I mean, I've been covering that as well. So,
so have I. You really think that people aren't going to... I mean, when Obama was in office, they crashed the FCC website, Jeff, and that was when Obama was in office.
Yeah.
You think that with Trump around, people aren't going to flip out if they really do truly go after it?
I hope so. I hope they do.
They will. They will big time. I mean, I think that goes without saying. They will big time. People are already up in arms just over his pick. Yeah. Just over his telecom pick.
Right.
Which is a disturbingly horrible pick. I mean,
this
people are up
this
in
guy
arms
was
for
a
the right
former
reasons.
Verizon lawyer. This guy worked for the telecom companies. Of course,
so did to a lesser degree, so did Tom Wheeler, and nobody was beating the drums for him. People were beating the drums already because of the pick. I don't, and now we're switching roles, and I'm the optimistic one here, Jeff. But I don't think if net neutrality goes away, I don't think there will be a Republican sitting in the White House.
Well, hey man, that is a fair point. That's why we need to clean house. Justice Democrats or whatever.
Agreed.
Like if you want to go with Justice Democrats, that's fantastic. You want to go somewhere else and try to work on getting progressive candidates from the Green Party, have at it. Great. All avenues are accepted. Let's get some change. Let's get some new faces in there. Let's get some progressives in office. I don't care how we do it. I just want to win because I want to win on policy and actually start helping the American people. Okay. Do you have time? I mean, we got a couple
I
more
should
stories.
probably hop off here soon.
All right. So I'll do the rest
Yeah.
of the story, the couple stories that I have left on my own. Thanks, Ron, for
All right.
being a contributor for today. You can catch Ron, of course, every Monday here around the nation, as well as on the Jimmy Dore Show, Stephanie Miller Show. I mean, FYI Nation. I mean, you've got a very impressive resume.
Spread all around, buddy.
You were
spread all around.
You were spread around.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Thanks always, Ron. We'll see you. We'll see you later. All right. So again, we got a couple more stories here that I want to talk about. Let's talk about the corrupt Hillary's establishment is now Trump's establishment. Fun times. Now, during his campaign, Donald Trump said he wanted to take down the corrupt establishment. But what did that really mean? Now, he described a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our economy of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. Now, look, that description, that's a pretty accurate one. I agree with that. And people on the left and the right, well, they hate the establishment because, of course, for the last 40 years, that same establishment has been robbing us blind. Now, that is one of the same messages that Bernie Sanders ran. We've got to take on the establishment. We've got to return America to the working people. There's too much money in politics. There's too much power concentrated in the hands of giant corporations. Great. And it's a great message. It's great politics. It plays well. Not only that, but the politicians and the wealthy donors that fund them are absolutely despised. Congressional ratings are in the toilet. For example, venereal disease, cockroaches, they're more popular than Congress. And Hillary Clinton lost some places where Obama had won because she is the face of the political establishment. However, just 4 weeks in, after successfully riding that anti-establishment wave into some of the very unlikely victories in the Rust Belt that gave him the Electoral College, Donald Trump has officially switched sides and has welcomed the political establishment into his administration with open arms, with arms wide open. He comes right in. Now, The Intercept is reporting that on Friday, Trump had announced the creation of a strategic and policy forum that will serve to advise him on domestic economic matters. Well, look, the idea itself isn't so bad. Donald Trump and his administration probably don't know jack about economics. And look, he pledged to surround himself with people who do know. I surround myself. I've got the best people, the greatest people. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. Now, the problem here, though, with that is laid out by Zaid Jilani of The Intercept. Now, he says, quote, the list of advisors that will join this economic forum is a who's who of corporate elites. That's funny. I thought Donald Trump despised the corporate elites. But it gets better. Many of these corporate elites had previously and enthusiastically supported his Democratic opponent. Remember? Crooked Hillary. Look at Crooked Hillary. She got all the global financial elites backing her. Surprise! They're no longer Hillary's global financial elite. They're Donald Trump's global financial elite. Let me give you some names. But first, see, he said meet the new swamp, same as the old swamp. So now, again, names. Now, the chairman of the forum is a man named Stephen Schwartzman. He was the CEO of the Blackstone Group, a private equity and investment banking giant. Blackstone made the announcement on their website and touted the forum as being, quote, composed of some of America's most highly respected and successful business leaders, who will be called upon to meet with the president frequently to share their specific experience and knowledge as the president implements his plan to bring back jobs and make America great again. Now, Schwartzman is a registered Republican. Okay, so Republican voting for Republican, not a huge surprise. However, his company, the Blackstone Group, like much of Wall Street, spent most of the campaign trying to get close to Hillary Clinton. Now, Blackstone's chief operating officer, Hamilton Tony James, hosted a fundraiser for Clinton in December of 2015 that featured, among others, democratically aligned billionaire Warren Buffett. Not only that, but more than a dozen executives at the firm gave tens of thousands of dollars to Hillary Clinton's campaign and held an invitation-only reception at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. Blackstone Group, big Wall Street firm, supporting Hillary Clinton, now supporting Donald Trump. Fascinating. Not only that, but more than a dozen executives, as I said, gave lots and lots of money to Hillary Clinton, now supporting Donald Trump. Another member of the news advisory group is a man named Larry Fink. Now, Fink is the chairman and CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest. Let me stop here. Blackstone, BlackRock, really? Are you serious? Blackstone, BlackRock. Okay, whatever. Now, BlackRock is the world's largest asset management firm. Fink spent years ingratiating himself with top Democrats and was once shortlisted as a replacement for the Obama administration's Treasury Secretary, Timothy Geithner. He even hired former Hillary Clinton aide Cheryl Mills to serve in the firm's board of directors of his firm and was poised to take over of Clinton and staff Clinton's Treasury Department. So Larry Fink, one of the guys that's on this forum to advise Donald Trump on economic matters. Huge Clinton person, huge Obama person. That's really strange. Now look, if Clinton had won, Larry Fink would probably be in charge of the Treasury Department instead of Steven Mnuchin. Mnuchin, of course, he's got his own ties to Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. He is a former Goldman Sachs alumnus, as well as someone who had worked for George Soros. So either way, Trump or Clinton, we get somebody from Wall Street. New swamp, hello to the old swamp. Same exact thing. Now, let me give you the full list of those who are on this advisory panel. Now, you have Paul Atkins, CEO of Potomac Global Partners, former commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mary Barra, chairwoman and CEO of General Motors, Toby Cosgrove, CEO of Cleveland Clinic, Jamie Dimon, chairman and CEO of JP Morgan. Oh, look, Jamie Dimon, now an advisor to Donald Trump on economic issues. I wonder if he's going to support the global financial elite. There's more. Bob Iger, chairman and CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Rich Lesser, president and CEO of the Boston Consulting Group. Doug McMillan, president and CEO of Walmart. Jim McInerney, former chairman, president, and CEO of Boeing. Adebayo Ogunlesi, I butchered your name, sorry. Chairman and managing partner of Global Infrastructure Partners. Ginny Rometty, chairwoman, president of CEO of IBM. And there's others, okay? There's a lot. You've got Jack Welch, former chairman and CEO of GE, even. So a lot of these people, I mean, big financial partners, big corporate people, okay? Now, a lot of these people also happen to have supported and given a lot of money to Hillary Clinton. In fact, General Motors CEO Mary Barra was thought of so dearly by the Clinton campaign that she was considered as a possible VP pick, according to hacked emails released by WikiLeaks. Boeing CEO Jim McInerney has given thousands of dollars to top Democrats and lauded Clinton's leadership of the State Department, which helped Boeing win contracts, while simultaneously funding the Clinton Foundation and helping sponsor paid speeches by former President Bill Clinton. You remember Donald Trump talking about the Clinton Foundation? So corrupt. So corrupt. Clinton Foundation. Anybody who supports that, corrupt. And look, Clinton Foundation, serious issues, right? And you had Haiti, for example. I covered that. Donald Trump was right in criticizing the Clinton Foundation over Haiti. And also some of the pay-for-play stuff when she was in the State Department. Totally. I covered all that. Now, we also covered Trump's shady-ass foundation, which was entirely funded by donors and used to buy things like signed Tim Tebow gear. So, again, those things not quite equal. One was obviously more for personal gain and corruption, but the other one also for some sort of personal gain and corruption. Just not quite on the scale, right? Again, both had significant issues, and now the same people who paid to play with Hillary Clinton are now advising Donald Trump on economics. Trump's new establishment seems to be looking just as corrupt as the old establishment, and maybe even more so. If you voted in order for Donald Trump in order to break the establishment, I have news for you. Donald Trump conned you. He is the new establishment, same as the old establishment. And there's really all I can say about that. All right, one more story for you guys. Here's a fun story. Now, Senator Claire McCaskill recently compared groups looking to primary centrist Democrats to the Tea Party. Now, I don't seem to have too big of a problem with this, and I'll explain that later. Now, she was recently on the Mark Reardon show, and she said the progressive wing of the party could and might offer up a primary challenger when she runs for re-election next year. She said, quote, "I'm for sure going to run, and I may have a primary because there is, in our party now, some of the same kind of enthusiasm at the base that the Republican Party had with the Tea Party." Enthusiasm. That is one way to describe it. Another way to describe it is that progressives are pissed that the Democratic Party continues to take money from giant corporations and wealthy donors and represents those instead of the people. People are a little pissed off about that. Now, she said, "Many of those people are very impatient with me because they don't think I'm pure enough. For example, they think I should be voting against all of Trump's nominees, and of course I'm judging each nominee on its own merit." Now, hold on here. This doesn't have anything to do with some weird purity test, okay? Now, she did vote for 6 Trump nominees. Now, to be fair, some of those nominees at least weren't all that controversial, and they actually did pass with majority support. So I understand that. Now, she voted against the more extreme nominees like Tillerson, Mnuchin, Price, DeVos, etc. So again, we're being completely fair to Claire McCaskill here, and I'm not exactly a fan. But again, you got to call it the way it is. So look, a little bit of a mixed bag, but that's not why she's going to face a primary. She's gonna face a primary because she's part of the Democratic establishment. She unabashedly during the primary red baited Bernie Sanders. Oh, he's a socialist. Nobody's talking about how big of a socialist Bernie Sanders is. We can't have that. No, Hillary all the way. Hillary all the way. But he's not a socialist. He's a Democratic socialist. There is a bit of a difference. And again, it's the red baiting, it's the fear baiting, the social communist, that kind of stuff. That's a bit of an issue because it wasn't actually true. She was one of the hardest people that went after Sanders. And she doubled down on the same failed status quo that Hillary Clinton represents. Not only that, but McCaskill is among a group of Democrats, including Senator Heidi Heitkamp, somebody else I don't like, Joe Manchin, again, somebody I really don't like, and Joe Donnelly, who faced re-election in red states that voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump in the 2016 election. Well, look, why did they vote for Trump? It's because the Democratic Party has essentially left. They've fled the area. They have failed them. They have not even listened to them or talked to them. So that's what we have here. In fact, McCaskill said exactly that. In a Thursday interview, McCaskill took aim at her own party, saying the Democrats haven't listened to the concerns of voters, that fundamentally think Washington, D.C. is not paying any attention to their needs. And she's actually right about that. That, oh my God, she kind of gets it right there. Yes, exactly. And unfortunately, you are one of the people who do not listen to the progressive wing of the party when they say corrupt establishment, and when they say get rid of big money, when they say corporations have too much influence inside of our political process. You were one of the people, and that was Bernie Sanders' message, who ignored that and instead said, socialist, 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 communist, we can't vote for this guy. Go with centrist Hillary. But again, she still thinks this is all about her, voting for some of Trump's nominees. Again, that is not the issue. She said, quote, "As of today, it's about half and half of the ones I voted no on and the ones I voted yes on, and I'm making an individual decision based on the merit of each one. That's not good enough for some of these folks who want me to just be against Trump everywhere." Well, look, there is one thing that I do want to point out. She says she hasn't made a decision on Judge Neil Gorsuch. Now, look, Gorsuch, we don't agree with him, but you can't say that he's not qualified for the job. We just don't agree with him. We have huge differences on policy and the direction the country would take. And again, I've done videos talking about Neil Gorsuch where I disagree with the direction that he wants to take the country in. He's one of those constitutional originalists that don't think the Constitution should be changed at all from its original meaning. I don't agree with that. I think it is a living document. He's not for that. That's some of our differences there. And some of his decisions, again, I don't agree with him, right? But to say that he's unqualified, well, that's different. Unqualified is somebody who doesn't have a law degree or who doesn't understand what he's talking about. Not that it's not somebody that you disagree with politically. And so, again, that's my issue with Gorsuch. Even so, I believe Democrats should block him 100%, not because we disagree with him, but because that's a stolen seat. The Republicans stole that seat that actually belonged with somebody else that I disagree with, Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland is center right. I don't agree with him. I think he's in favor of big money in politics. But that was President Obama's pick by rights of the Constitution. Republicans blocked him for over a year until President Trump got elected. That is 100% stolen seat. You try to fill it with anybody, you could fill it with Jesus fucking Christ himself. And you know what we'd say? Stolen seat, motherfucker. Stolen seat. So, again, 100% against him. As far as the other nominees, look, we have a Republican Congress. I don't know if you noticed that, right? Even without the Democrats, the Republicans can just shove them through. That's how they shoved through Betsy DeVos. Mike Pence had to go and do something that was completely unprecedented in the history of America. He had to go and break a tie on a nominee. So yeah, they can get them through no matter what. So Claire McCaskill, why create issues for yourself by voting for them? But again, that's not the main focus here. You want to call it the progressive movement like the Tea Party? You know what? I like that. I like that. I accept that. You know why? Tea Party got shit done. They run the GOP now. They run the Republican Party. Yes, of course, there were guys in goofy hats wearing tea bags, and they looked ridiculous, and they made no sense. And, of course, they were funded by the Koch brothers. But they managed to primary their way into power. The difference between progressive groups and the Tea Party, of course, that progressive groups are actually made up of real people. Regular people that are not astroturfed and bussed in from Heritage Foundation events. These are real Americans that are progressive. They're against taking corporate money. Okay? Progressive groups, they are a real movement. And they're saying to Democrats, to Republicans, to anybody, you either stop taking corporate money or get the fuck out of the way. And especially to Democrats. They're saying, if you take corporate money, we don't want you. If you don't want to work for us, if you want to work for your donors, step aside, son. You're gone. Gone. And the Democrats are so afraid of these primaries. Because again, it threatens their campaign contributions and it actually makes them more responsible for their votes. They don't like that. If they vote against their base, you know, we need to hold them responsible. And look, this is why Joe Manchin and the other Democrats, the Blue Dogs, Claire McCaskill, and Heidi Heitkamp are crapping their pants, man, over groups like Justice Democrats. That's why. They don't want to be primaried from the left because they actually might lose to a progressive who is against the centrist neoliberal political establishment and actually wants to serve the people instead of the corporations like they're supposed to. So by all means, man, we are the Tea Party of the left. And you know what? We're coming for you. 2018, we're coming. Get prepared. All right. That's all I got for you guys. I know we started a little bit late, but we also ran a little bit late, so all things even out. So I want to thank you guys for watching, for going around the nation with me today. Definitely appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, like and share our videos. Sharing is caring, of course. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, at TYT Nation. If you want to support grassroots, progressive, independent media, patreon.com/TYT Nation. So, again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ron, for being with me earlier. He had to run, but I appreciate him being here as a contributor nonetheless. So, anyway, thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here, TYT Nation. And remember, well, first, love you guys. Appreciate everybody watching. Remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation.